Good day and welcome to BD Short Takes. We give you insights on key issues happening in our different sectors of the economy. I am Amadichinere Lillian, and with me is our in-house analyst, Mr. Bala Audi. Today we're going to be looking at business day take on banks' release results. Welcome, Mr. Bala. How are you? Okay, so can you please tell me what banks have released results presently?
Yeah, presently Zenith Bank and Guaranty Trust Bank, that's GT Bank, have both released results. And the results released showed they grew. The results were impressive, despite skepticism by investors as a result of the tight regulatory headwinds bedeviling the industry. For instance, Guaranty Trust Bank grew net income by 10%, while gross earnings grew by 10%. Interest income as well grew by 10%. That of Zenith also grew pre-tax and profit by 8.4%, while net income grew by 4.1%. Also, there was a remarkable improvement in gross earnings and interest income.
Okay, so what trends do you see from this?
Yeah, for instance, Zenith Bank, for instance, now in 2010, Zenith Bank had 754 million in terms of loans. Today they have as much as 1.7 trillion. If you look at their Zenith Bank's return on average equity, which fell from 19% to 18% as a result of the tough regulatory environment. Likewise, GT also recorded remarkable growth in loans and deposit base.
Okay, so what are their major challenges and where did these banks take a hit from?
Yeah, basically, in the last 3-4 years, as a result of the hike in monetary policy rates, that is NPR by 100 basis points, that's from 12% to 13%. That NPR is basically the amount at which central bank will lend to banks. So this has, in a way, squeezed banks' bottom line. And again, we also have the regulatory induced cost, such as the Asset Management Corporation of Nigerian fee, whereby it mandates all banks to pay 0.5% of their total assets. So when you look at this cost, coupled with the macroeconomic environment, harsh macroeconomic environment of Nigeria, you find out that a lot of banks are having huge costs. For instance, Zenith Bank's OPEX, that's operating expenses, grew by 11%. Likewise at GT2, where the cost to income ratio, that's another measure of efficiency. Also, for Zenith Bank grew by 1.1% to 57.74%, whereas for GT Bank remained flat at 43%, which makes GT Bank the most efficient and the most profitable bank in Nigeria.
Okay, so how did they fare in the light of the regulatory headwinds?
Yeah, as I've also mentioned, we cannot just judge, by the two banks that have just released. For me, the two banks have fared well in terms of loan growth. They are aggressive about lending. If you look at, for instance, Zenith Bank has its loan to deposit ratio grew from 58% to 69%, which means these banks are lending. Likewise, GT Bank as well. So despite the tight regulatory environment, banks are still lending. They have robust deposit base, robust loan growth. They are loaning, especially to agri, telecoms, and the rural sector of the economy.
Okay, so with these performances, all these performances, will they attract investors?
Yeah, investors, as I said, that it's difficult to judge by the results released by these two banks, because we have over 10 banks quoted on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. However, if you look at their 1-year return on NSE, find out that GT Bank appreciated by 8.79%, plus Zenith Bank appreciated by 4.29%. It shows investors are beginning to have confidence, in the banking sector as a result of the, fantastic result released by these two banks. For instance, now these banks are not relenting. They are also attracting investors and shareholders. They are also attracting investors by, giving out dividends, to shareholders. For instance, Zenith Bank is declaring a dividend of $1.79 kobo with a dividend payout of 55%. Likewise, GT Bank also has a payout ratio of 55%. And if you look at the dividend yield, both GT and Zenith Bank to have a very high dividend yield. Dividend yield has increased.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Bala. That'll be all for now. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on the show. This is still Leadership Take. See you.